How are you? You good? How are you? How are you? How am I? I wish I could tell you. Plain and simple, man. I wish I could lay it down in layman's terms. Find a path to walk you through my maze, shortcuts through all the long ways and turns, but aren't spontaneous shortcuts always longer? I mean, I hate that I can't say it. Take you straight to the point, straighten it out like I was relaxing my joints. How do I want to be feeling? I want to be relaxing my joints, chilling, slacking, leaning back, and I don't know. Well, I do know, but like slow conveyor belts, I just can't convey it well. Maybe if I fix them, I could manufacture a factory to manufacture some coherence, but like my employees, I'll get unnecessarily complex, like a stupid dude with a one-colored Rubik's Cube. When I divide the parts and deduce from the clues, I can't even add 1 and 1 to be 2, and that just multiplies the frustration, so much so that it grows exponentially. Then I'd have to start using some mathematic analogy. But if I did that, I'd start thinking, yo, I gotta get home, and I might just forget about slapping this. Poem. I'm happy with your explanation of you, so I should give you mine. Give me a penny for my thoughts, but it never makes sense. I'm just wasting your time. So much so that I should owe you a handful of dimes. I wish I could tell you how I feel without it having a rhyme. Shoot, it just rhymed now. That's a bittersweet example of mine to sugarcoat my pathetic understanding of mind. How's it going? Slowly. Like slow conveyor belts that just can't convey it well. And maybe I repeat things so I sound a poetic device more clever, but really, But sometimes I get so caught up in my speech, it whirls its own winds and topples a beach. Tsunamis of ideas flood the streets and drowned out what I was trying to mean there. Vassals, rebellious to the lords there. Knights with indecisive swords, their nails, knives, and forks scratching chalkboards, their elbows striking the wrong chords. So I never seem to say what I mean or have the means to clearly show you what I see. But in the midst of my clearing up what I missed, you can still hear me. But can you feel me? I just wanted to tell you how I feel, and now tsunamis, sword fights, Rubik's Cubes, and the whole feudal system are a part of the picture. How have I been? Distracted, more or less. Well, more I guess, but sometimes my train of thought gets so derailed that I can't stay on track in life anymore. I oftentimes get offline, like I signed out because I'm tired of using emoticons as an excuse for my inability to explicate my emotions, or I sloppily signed my signature to resign from myself. How am I? Because sometimes I can only reply with a deep sigh, but like always, I'm fine. Thank you. The next thing we have going, a friend of mine, Stanley, you know already. We took some music. That's what he's good at. Took some poetry. That's what I got. And put them together. The poem's called Letitia. We good? All right. I used to be a bear tamer, and I used to be friends with a bear tamer, and she could understand children like a child. The restlessness in their limbs, underneath wonders and whims. Her joy was as free as the jungle she turned her living room into, filled with not a care stories she'd share, which she made so she had been through. She could tell a boy his hands were made of gold, which never wore, never tore, nor grew old. She could tell a girl that she was important in the world, because her eyes were crystals of which only she knew. That her bear rug, it wasn't a rug. That it wanted to rip you to shreds, take off your head, and just give you a hug. and she would lie there, smiling, watching all the animals she was related to. And that might be because she's tired from stealing gold from Egyptian pyramids, or digging for crystals, or strangling a bear with her bare hands. And we'd never care to question, never for a second, because it was too much fun there. And she's still the life of the party, and it still seems like she's smiling. And she roams the jungle as if the sand stands still. But sometimes, if you look up, you'll know. It's just a different couch. Thank you, Auntie. This poem is called Two. That's how I'm going to introduce the poem. He keeps his hands in his pockets, muffling any sounds his coins make. He's poor when it comes to those kinds of people, see. 2 meters in front of him, there's this bum, stained by the newspaper ink smudges on which it sits. This bum belongs to a human being. And she has eyes like oysters, as if holding a heavily guarded secret, so she feels she has something worth protecting. But he sees her as typical scenery. Dirty newspaper, a facade of a smile. As if in deep thought he closes his eyes, takes a deep breath as she screams, "Hey! Why don't you give a pause?" Backstory. A damn about me! At her husband, see, she was dressed in the finest clothing, whites as pearly as her picket fence. Her personality was as colorful as her custom coat. He always gave her things she didn't need. Given she gave him things he begged for. "You treat me like meat," she cried that day. That sunny Sunday morning she left. She ran like emotional noses, annoyed and in slow motion with no care, searching for the middle of nowhere. She roamed the streets like one person in love, passionately attached to nothing, until she discovered here. So she dropped down, looked around, and found foundation in the ground. For once, she was a skyscraper. But she sprawled herself out like a dead bird, jealous of the stars, mumbling, "Why, God? Why can't that be me?" But from a pedestrian penthouse she's comfortable, shivering newspapers, plastic bags, and whatever urban tumbleweed collaborated in a quaint little court. She had this quiet something only narration could notice. Her full red lips blew breath like a chimney, like a smoke signal, like prayers to a man upstairs that left her in the dark that sunny Sunday morning, that night when her mister wasn't all that right. So she sleeps, and she sleeps, and she sleeps like a second-hand Disney princess, waiting for a damn to be given her, at least a facade of a smile. As if in deep thought, he closes his eyes. But don't be mistaken. She's a woman who found freedom away from a lost home, who was as happy as a woman who found freedom away from a lost home. Unpause. An old lady, some of that there spare change, sonny. I've been running on empty. And he blinks and returns to reality, and it's just like he left it, except hands, pockets. His pockets coldly clutch his hands. Come on, how about it? 2 meters, except she is 2 meters back there. Spare change, but it yearns for attention, muffling any movement his hands make. So he looks behind him, not at her, just behind him. Looks in front of him, inhales a prayer, and walks on like a backstory. And she, well, she is a pearl of a story to tell. Thank you.